Well, not too far from Congo, the African Union members meeting in Rwanda on Wednesday launched what could become the world's largest free trade zone. The trade bloc has been in negotiations since 2012, when the African Union first decided on a continent-wide plan. It aims to create a single market for goods and services, free movement of business and investments, and establish a customs union to regulate tariffs. The African Union aims to double intra-Africa trade by 2022, but the Kigali launch, while significant, is largely symbolic, as many challenges remain before the trade deal can be implemented, let alone become effective. African trade is dominated by the export of raw materials to Asia and the West and import of finished goods. The African Union says reducing barriers to trade within the continent will boost manufacturing and value-added products and services. Now, for more perspective on the Africa free trade deal, Carmen Nibigira, a tourism policy expert, joins me by phone from Kigali. Good evening, Ms. Nibigira.
Good evening.
Yes, now this looks like a really ambitious plan, this free trade across the continent, but people question, is it realistic to really create a unified market, a free trading area across 54 countries that have so many different challenges to face?
Well, I don't think really it's a challenge. I think it's timely. This continental free trade agreement is needed today. If you look at how across Africa we are different, of course we have 54 countries, but the time to implement the continental free trade is today. And we are a big population, the youngest population on the continent of Africa comes from here. We are a population of 1.2 billion. I think we have more opportunities and challenges we can actually solve them together.
Now, for a person like you who has actually been working in promoting tourism, how do you make a case in a situation where there are countries you can't even visit because of security reasons, and yet you want to lump all these countries together, the DRC, Somalia, Kenya, Uganda, all of them together?
From a tourism standpoint, I think we sometimes look at the security in terms of what we see from outside. But across the borders, people are crossing the borders. You talk about Ethiopia, Somalia. Kenya is still a neighboring country where people cross for different reasons, whether it's for medical tourism, education purposes, and as well as trade. So we should not only focusing on the negative part of it, we also look at the opportunities. And all the hindering and the challenges we have seen are mainly based on the political will, and unfavorable political will has prevented us to achieve the potential of what Africa can do, actually.
Now, Carmen, do you see the political will across the continent today to really realistically have the implementation of that kind of a deal?
Well, we say Rome was not built in a day. Of course, we have different regional blocks, whether you look at SADC, you look at East African Community, you look at COMESA, and then on the western side of West Africa. What I mean by political will, we need to really move in incremental stages. Of course, the principle of all this continental free trade area is about understanding that even though our stories are singular, as partner states and communities across Africa, our destiny is shared, and the success of what we'll do together is really embedded in working together. So by design and by default, we are meant to work together.
Well, once the ink dries on that deal, we'll continue the conversation. Ms. Nibigira, we thank you very much. Well,
thank you very much.
You're welcome. Carmen Nibigira is a tourism expert, and she joined us from Kigali, Rwanda.